a sex drive booster and like a recovery time shortener. So like you can go and again and again and again. So I think I think focusing on like that would probably be even better for your guys, because your audience is gonna be young dudes who don't have a problem getting their dick hard.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, but we can still talk about that though, because I actually get a lot of messages from young guys, which is crazy.
That's depressing.
Yeah, and I'm actually, my audience is actually getting older, which is interesting. Like they're getting, I don't know why, but
all right, cool.
Yeah, it's because we're dude.
You're universally appealing to everybody. So we're trustworthy Asian men.
Asian Tates.
You guys getting called the Asian Tates?
Yeah.
That is fun.
So
that is fucking fun.
You remember that whatever podcast?
Yeah. Well, you guys absolutely fucking crushed it and went viral.
Yeah, and then all the comments, Asian Tates. I was like, shit.
Fucking. I think we keep rolling from here. That's where we start. Yeah. We're rolling from here, bro. Because that's a great fucking intro.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Nathan just got back from Australia. You used to live in Australia.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about that yet?
Yeah, he said it was boring.
Yeah, it was boring.
Like
his part of Australia was boring.
My part is interesting. The part you went to was boring.
Yeah. I mean,
I was offended, Logan. I was very offended. I almost kicked him out. I was like, "What the fuck's up with this guy?" I just met him. He told in my country, like
it's a piece of shit.
Where you went is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. You're hanging out in the Northern Territory. Northern Territory is extremely boring, riddled with drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So, not that the rest of Australia isn't a bunch of alcoholics, but that area in particular is quite full of alcoholics.
So, I went to the same spot Nathan was at too, in Darwin. And then are you from like Melbourne or Sydney?
No, you ignorant American.
The back parts, right? The backcountry part of Australia, right?
On my left. I'm from Perth. I'm from the other part.
Through the back door.
Oh god. But, okay, you're in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that? Am I doxing him somehow? Is this like a military thing where I can't say people where he is?
I have no idea.
All right, fine. You guys are great.
I don't even know what the military is.
Oh, okay, fine. Good call. Forget that bit. How does Japan compare to America?
So Japan, you've never been to Japan yet?
Never. I've been to South Korea, but I have not been to Japan.
Okay, so I went to Korea. They party hard as fuck in Korea. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Japan, everyone talks about how the girls here are a lot more trad, more traditional, more conservative. I would say no. I would still say no. I think a lot of girls here are still pretty brainwashed. The thing is, they're not as ratchet and open about it as girls in America, right? So you see girls in America, they're proud to like run around and like, when I went to Miami, bro, they're like doing like abortion like rallies and meetups and shit. In Japan, you're never going to see that stuff. They still have a lot of like fear from their parents and their grandparents. So they don't run around doing that stuff.
That makes sense.
They still get their ass whooped. That's what happened.
All right. Is that an Asian thing?
Yeah.
You can only be a hoe if you got straight A's.
Okay, right. Well, what do they use? Do they use like a ruler or what is the tool of punishment that your parents used to use?
Chopsticks.
Oh, okay, that's a real thing. All right, fine.
Yeah. We got these really long chopsticks.
Beat the shit out of you. Yeah. We got like the belt. Like dad takes the belt and just whoops your ass with the belt. That's what we got.
I saw the clip with you and Justin. You and Justin reunited back where he's at in Louisiana, right?
Like I said, I don't know. It just sounds funny, like reunited.
I mean, I think that I saw the title of that on a clip or something.
Wrong. Basically, what happened was we went fishing. Is what happened. So.
I think it's actually important for guys to go fishing, hunting, and do all that stuff. But a lot of guys I talk to, they don't do any of that stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like that particular thing we did is he calls it floating the river, and so like you get in at one end of the river, like you've got a friend who's got a property there, you dock in there, and there's no engine on the boat. It's just like a basic like float. You just float all the way down with like a paddle to steer, and that's it. And then you get off at the other end. And we did that for like 8 hours. Like we were there from like midday till like dark.
You shooting anything?
That was fishing. So we filled up. We start off with a cooler full of beer, and ended up with a cooler full of fish. So we basically just you had to drink and replace it with the fish you catch. So it was pretty good. Good fun, real good fun, man. But that's just like me, him, and one of his other mates, like just talking all day about dude stuff and like having a real fucking good time, man. Like there's something truly like peaceful about it too. Just chilling, no one else around, no civilization, just the dudes catching fish. Like it's real fun.
Imagine that, but you're shooting a gun.
Yeah. Justin's taken me deer hunting before. We just didn't catch anything.
It's still fun.
Yeah, I still haven't made the deer. I still haven't made the deer. But I just bought land in America. I've just bought some land, and my land has wild deer and wild turkey. So, and I'm going to visit there next week. My intention, but this might not come out in time for this, but my intention is to try and bag a turkey before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But someone's telling me
the caveman way.
Yeah, apparently turkey are really smart and hard to catch. Apparently.
Yeah, so I think with all animals, they have to feel comfortable. I mean, that's what my buddies were telling me. You know, they have to feel comfortable with you being around or just them being in that area. Right. So as long as you don't try chasing it right away when you see it and you get them more comfortable, it's easier.
Yeah,
you gotta get the big one.
That wasn't I wasn't going to be a dickhead and just try to run after one, but you know. A bit more tactful. I'll try something like that. Apparently, if you got to gobble, like you got to make a sound of some like or something, and they can come out for you. No, this is what
you got to do the mating call.
Well, that's okay. This is what the buddy was telling me. Okay, so he was he's very keen on turkey hunting. So apparently, turkeys are one of the only species on the planet where the women come to the dude. So the dude gobbles, and the women like come to him. It's not like he's the selector. It's not the other way around. Like where the dude is doing a dance or some shit to impress the chick. It's kind of the other way around with turkeys. Apparently, someone's going to correct me if I'm completely wrong.
No,
there's lots of American horses, but
don't peacocks do the same thing? Peacocks they flash their feathers, right?
Stuff, right? Yeah, and then the chicks do that, and then they pick it, right? A little bit, yeah. Other birds will like kind of fly in and do some shit, and the chick will like either tell them to fuck off or whatever, right? But the dude turkey apparently is the one to selecting. So apparently, the challenging thing with turkey hunting is you got to make a sound like of a chick that is a female turkey that is so convincing and so turkey sexy that the dude wants to come to it. Apparently, that's the trick, but we'll find out.
What if we run into a high value turkey? You know?
Yeah, exactly. He ain't going anywhere. That high value turkey is he's gonna say, no bitch, get on my program.
God damn it. And you just bought a new car too, right?
I got a new car,
yeah. Dude, it's fucking sick.
I was just showing him some videos.
Nice.
Got to drive it for approximately less than 48 hours before I had to fly to London, and on Wednesday I'll have done 17 podcasts in 17 days consecutively.
Holy shit!
I'm really looking forward to getting back to Spain and driving that thing because it's super duper fun.
And then so I think for the guys who are just watching and for whatever reason, if they don't know you and your background, you started in porn.
Yeah.
And then what happened with that after you started making videos helping guys?
I got canceled from porn. Is what happened. real fast.
They were like, "You're taking away our customers, man."
It wasn't even really that to start with. It was more like the red pill stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could say, because the porn industry is very liberal, very left wing, very feminist heavy, and so when you start speaking the truth about male female dynamics, you start talking about things with a bit more nuance. You don't think men are all these big bad evil guys. If you don't think all men are like rapists, if you don't think the patriarchy rules the world, and we might perhaps live in a society that's a little bit more catered towards
women,
pandering to women, that tends to rub them up the wrong way. I got. To be fair, it was one tweet that I made that got me uber cancelled, which was I said, if she calls herself a queen, a princess, or a bad bitch, then she's probably not relationship material. And
I think I've seen that clip before.
That went like super viral on like porn Twitter. The funny thing was I tweeted I wrote that tweet like a month in advance. I wrote like a month ago and I just scheduled it. and I was living in Portugal at the time, so I wasn't even in the same time zone as LA. So the tweet went out. I went to sleep. I woke up. It had done like 1 million hits or something. And I got like my notifications was like, what the fuck has happened here? I don't know. And it's just a bunch of women like hating on me.
Yeah. But we talked about on our first podcast together, you mentioned how a lot of the girls who were canceling you were the girls that you've already slept with, or they're already into you. They're super into you. And the same thing I experienced as well.
You know what was funny? Like there was a couple of girls specifically, it was funny, who had like when we'd been on set and we'd been talking to each other in the DMs and stuff, they'd been super friendly. We'd really gotten along. There was chemistry. It was great. And then once they saw everyone like jumping on the bandwagon of shitting on me, suddenly the story flipped. Suddenly their experience that they had on set with me,
they post on their
flipped.
Story, cancel this guy.
It's very, very telling. Yeah, but that goes back to like the nature of women generally being more like communal and less like independent minded thinkers, less willing to like go against the grain. That was very, very obvious when that happened.
No, yeah, when you told me that really stood out. I still remember, is like you said, is even going back to caveman days, is like if a guy wanted to separate himself from the tribe, he would be able to survive on his own and protect himself. And that's why guys are able to come up with their own ideas and beliefs, and they can stand for it. The thing is, women, even if they do have their own ideas and beliefs, they cannot stand for it or fight for it.
Yeah.
And so if they were to leave the tribe, they would die. Like they couldn't survive on their own. And so they would have to choose either a strong man or another strong society that fits those belief systems. And that's why so many women nowadays, they either choose society's beliefs or they choose a strong man's beliefs, and that's
basically it. I'll take an even more extreme approach to that as well. You could make the argument that women do not inherently have rights inherently, even though we give them rights in society.
We give them all of them.
Yeah, but the reason the argument for this is because they cannot enforce those rights through violence. They have
to take away sex.
Well, the only rights that women have in society today are enforced by other men enforcing it with violence.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, if we have a society, let's not say like like we have today, but if we had a small tribe or whatever, or we had a small localized community, the men are the ones who are going to enforce the rules and the privileges and the rights, and they do that through violence. Let's be honest. That's how things get enforced. It's how we make things happen. And so any rights that are then given to a woman is only enforced through the males reinforcing it with violence. The women cannot do that themselves. Well, you could make unless they have firearms, you could make that as an argument, but that's another way. That's another kind of wood.
Yeah, but they're not building them. I mean, it's guys building firearms.
Correct.
So it's either way, it's always guys at the end of the day.
Correct.
I still think I can shoot better than a woman.
But
it's actually a really interesting dynamic, though, how women are naturally followers. And when I say that all the time, people get so heated.
I don't know why.
It just is what it is. I mean, here's the thing: any girl who's feminine and just wants to follow a guy because she has a strong masculine father figure to follow, she has no issue with that. It's usually the girls who lack a father figure or lack some sort of strong masculine figure, and they hate it so much, and so they cling on to feminism instead.
Or they've had a lot of the time women will default to very, very feminist leaning opinions when they've had a jaded relationship with a guy. They've had a guy that was abusive to them in some way, and I actually mean physically abusive in these contexts. I don't mean like the vague like, oh, he was emotionally abusive, which gets thrown around a lot, and the two things get conflated a lot. So they'll develop a real negative association towards men, or they've had their heart broken, just straight up had their heart broken a bunch by dudes who might be fuckboys or whatever. Don't know where you would find guys like that at all.
Nope, don't know where.
I certainly wouldn't be friends with them at all. But that can lead girls down that path of feminism and that path of like, I don't need no man, and not wanting and here's the thing, it's because they don't feel like they can trust a guy and feel safe with a guy and thus allow him to lead. The women who still kind of have their femininity in them, their innate femininity in them, have no problem with a guy leading. They have no problem with following a guy's lead, and they will feel really, really safe when they let a guy lead. They'll trust him to lead. But it's these women who have had jaded experiences in the past, who have trouble trusting and feeling safe around a guy who will just resist falling into their natural feminine role.
Yeah.
Right. And then also, like, with the issues today in society with women being promiscuous, there's a lot of things that society has issues with, but I think if we focus on helping the guys and fixing the guys, what ends up as a byproduct of that is women trying to be better as well. Because if we make guys better, then the women have to be better as well, because then the guys' standards goes up. Same thing with OnlyFans. Is like, the only reason why OnlyFans exists is because guys are paying for it. Same thing with some of these women's rights, I guess, is it's because guys are backing it up. It's guys who are fighting for it, and it could be good or bad. It's just, this is how it is, though.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, nothing gets done without men, right? And it's you're absolutely right. Like women will adapt to the behavior that they're kind of like for want of a better term, like allowed to have. Like if when men do not have standards, and I don't like using the word like when men don't hold women accountable.
It's just having boundaries.
Yeah, it's just all it is having boundaries, right? Because a woman doesn't give a fuck about like your boundaries if she doesn't find you attractive. She don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like if you're the random dude on Twitter, like in the comment section, if you're the dude on YouTube in the comment section who's like, "Oh, women ain't shit. Women should listen to men." Like she doesn't give a fuck about you. She doesn't know you. You're just some you don't exist to her. Really, you don't. Like.
Yep.
So it's only the guys who she's attracted to that she actually gives a shit about their boundaries and their standards. And the problem that we have though is we have an abundance of like simps, or an abundance of guys who have zero options sexually. When the average woman is not looking at him at all, not giving him the time of day. And so there's a giant chunk of the male population who, even if they wanted to have standards, they can't by default. And then the sliver of guys who do have all the options, they're having a bit of fun, and so they're not really incentivized to have these super strict boundaries because they're getting access to all this pussy. They're just getting endless sex.
Yep.
So the game's working for them. So why would they change anything, right? And so we end up with this kind of scenario we're in now.
So what do you think the biggest issue like that's in society today? Maybe not just in America, but overall.
The Federal Reserve Bank and central banking. That's my answer. That's not nothing to do with dating and sex, though. But that's
hell yeah.
Okay. I just finished reading this book. It's called "The Creature from Jekyll Island," and it talks about the creation of the Federal Reserve System and a bit of history of central banking. Super, super good book. I'd highly recommend it. Not like it'll just make you annoyed, to be honest. It's probably not really going to help your life in any way, shape, or form, but it'll help you understand history, and it'll help you understand why we're in the position we're in with like wars and fucking inflation and the gold standard and oil. Like, it'll help you understand all of that on a really deep level. Super, super good book to read.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll read it for sure.
That's societally the answer to your question. I mean, like on a different scale in terms of like, dating, relationships. I mean, if you got rid of the simp supply, I think you'd fix a lot of these problems. If you got rid of the simp supply. Now, that's a challenging thing to do because you have to raise these guys up, or you have to make them care less about sex. They have to become more immune to the power of sex. Because guys who have no options, sex has a lot of power and control over them. Like guys like you or a guy like me, sex doesn't really mean that much to us. Like you could happily turn down sex with a woman if she doesn't meet your standards, or if she's giving you an ick of some kind or whatever. You're not in a position of such like desperation and neediness that you'll just take whatever the fuck comes your way. So it's a bit of a catch-22 in that you have to get these guys to not be so seduced by the power of sex that women have over them.
And some men kind of like realize that too late, and they're already in a marriage, and then finally when they have kids and all this shit, they're like, she's a piece of fucking shit, leaves that fucking kid with no fucking dad. So
that's even worse. Single mothers is a really bad pandemic, right? An epidemic right now, because that statistically it's been proven that kids do better off, obviously, in a two-parent household, but then they'll do not that much worse off in a single father household, but they'll do quite worse off in a single mother household. Like higher instances of like violent crime, dropping out of school, all kinds of things like this. So it's a real and that goes down to custody battles. A lot of the times, women by default will get the custody of the kid. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. The legal system regarding that. There's a whole big can of worms here.
And then what do you think the downsides are of consuming video games and porn?
Sedation. It's a sedation tool. Video games specifically. Let's talk about video games really quickly. So my buddy had this really interesting insight years ago. He's like, video games sap the male hero instinct. If you think about that, like all like video games are kind of like they're designed to set you up to be like the hero. They're designed to set you up to like level up and achieve things, right? Mm-hmm. And you get like they do it in just a fun enough way that you keep engaged with it, and it rewards you at the right time, so you stay kind of hooked on it, and it's an easy way of feeling like a hero. Like
the funny thing is, they could be doing that in real life to themselves.
Exactly.
Except like you don't get the reward when you want them.
Bingo. That's exactly right. Bingo. So video games set you up to feel like you deserve this instantaneous reward. Like you do something, I get a reward. I do something, I get a reward. It's not how real life works. Delayed gratification is how real life works.
Yeah.
Like, I hit the gym for 3 months consistently, and now I look jacked. Mm-hmm. It's not like I hit the gym day one, I look jacked that day. It's about it takes away that emphasis on delayed gratification. And then with things like porn, or things like porn, or you could say the same thing for social media. You could probably say the same thing for junk food. You could say the same thing for like things like Netflix. They're all sedation tools. They just put you in this state of comfort, and comfort is where like men go to die. Like nothing is ever gained from as a man from being like quote unquote comfortable or sedated. Not to say you can't relax and chill out every now and then, and like actually, you can enjoy some time with your bros. You can by all means, you can enjoy some time cuddling up with your girl on the couch watching Netflix. But if that is your life, if you're living for sedation, if you're living for comfort, that's a fucking problem, right? You need to be living in the pursuit of things, and that's usually where you're uncomfortable because you're pushing your boundaries, right? You're pushing a comfort zone all the time, and that's where you see the growth. That's where you see all the magic happen.
Yeah, that's why I put video games and porn in the same category of just instant gratification, just because it's like you don't like same thing with video games. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to really do any physical labor or even think that much. You just play the game, and it's like a lined path. And the same thing with porn is like you're getting what you really intended for sex, but you're getting it very quickly just from yourself without any of the effort. And so that's the thing is like both of those same things are in the same category of instead of guys going out and learning about girls and going out there and risking rejection, he just pulls out his phone and jerks off.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing though, is like it makes it better for the guys who are willing to sacrifice the video games, the porn, the junk food. Like you said, is most guys are simps. Most guys are average. And so for the guys who can cut out that average lifestyle, you're already above 97% of guys right off the bat. Like it's not that hard.
100%. The interesting thing with the porn stuff, right? If you think about it for a second, the average teenage dude has seen more titties than Genghis Khan.
Oh yeah.
Right? You've seen more titties than Julius Caesar. That is insane. Like you're not meant for like the male brain ain't meant for that. And I think there's I think our body. I don't have any like definitive proof or studies on this, but I'm certain, call it my like gut instincts, I'm certain that your body knows the difference between you having sex with like real sex with a woman versus you jerking it off. Your body I think that's why guys instinctually kind of have like a shame or a guilt response when they fap. And I think that's your body telling you like you didn't earn that beautiful woman you're looking at on the screen. Your body kind of knows that you didn't earn her. And so like by jerking it and fapping to her, it's like, yeah, it feels good, but it also comes with this, like there's something missing there. Versus when you actually charm a lady, seduce a lady, take her home and take her to bed, you get that kind of thrill of the chase as a guy. It's the process itself is rewarding.
It is.
And enjoyable all the way through. And it's not just the end result of the sex that's the fun part.
It's interesting because I don't want guys to chase girls, but the thing is the process of you chasing girls, you start to learn more about yourself. You start to learn about your flaws. You start to learn, oh shit, I suck at speaking just in general, or I feel like I get nervous, or I lack confidence and I fear like taking action. And those things, you start to self-analyze yourself. And I think girls teach you a lot, even just in the beginning stages. Like everything I've learned is mostly through, either from my heartbreaks or, just not performing well with women. The girl pulling away, losing attraction. I've learned so much more about myself than the actual girl situation. And it gives me an opportunity to better myself.
Yeah, women are like mirrors for you. Like they're like a mirror for like all your like flaws and neuroses. They just shove that fucking mirror right in front of your face and let you know like instantly with like instantaneous real world feedback. Like here's where you suck, right here, motherfucker. And I'm gonna put it right with like they won't necessarily explain it, but it's like the rejection is like right there in your face, so you know something's off. It's the most honest feedback you can get as a man because women are brutal.
Yeah, if the girl starts being bitchy or naggy, it's probably because you're being a pussy. Because if you put that same girl with an alpha male type of guy, she's instantly super pleasant, super happy, super peaceful. But why is it when she's with a guy like Will Smith, she acts, like Jada Smith? Here's the thing, because Jada, I don't even think Jada's that bad. You put Jada with like, you or Andrew Tate, that she's gonna be cooking, cleaning,
dude. She's a nice fucking girl,
doing everything we say, like for sure.
It's because that's a perfect example of a woman being alpha widowed, man. That is an imprint. Like that kind of ties into why guys make such a big deal about body count. Like you can, okay. Let me give you a really good example. So the lady you just met on the way in here,
mm-hmm.
that girl is staying with me. So she had like some kind of naughty looking, not naughty, like bikini photos and stuff on her Instagram or whatever, right? And when we went on the first date like last week, she was talking about it. She's like, "Oh, is this a red flag?" She's watched a bunch of my content, so she was like, "How many red flags do I have?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a fucking that one right there as a start." And no shit, she sat there in front of me and deleted 300 photos off her Instagram, like right there in front of me. I didn't even ask her to do it. She was like, "All right, well, I said it was a red flag," and she just sat there and started deleting them. So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." She's the same one who just ironed all my t-shirts. So it's interesting what women will do for you. They'll naturally, and this girl is quite natural. Like she's actually quite more traditional and more submissive and more feminine than like a raging blue-haired feminist from I don't know Caltech or something. But it's you'd be quite surprised as a guy how lovely women can be and the things they will do when they realize, oh, he doesn't like this behavior, but I want this guy and I'm attracted to him. They'll go out of their way to do things to like try to prove themselves to you. You don't have to like, and a lot of guys get the impression that they have to kind of like force that out of a woman in some way. It's not really how it works. You have to kind of like elicit it by being a man who she respects.
We definitely go into depth about this in the
the manipulation mastery course.
we go real into depth about
that name.
It's a good name. It's very eye catching.
Oh yeah, it grabs attention. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did I tell you guys? I don't know if I told you this. That I got ambushed when I was in Germany. I got ambushed on a radio show. Did I tell you this story?
No. Tell us.
Okay, cool. You can find this. This interview is on YouTube. You can find it. So these guys from this German radio show, they hit me up in an email and are like, "Oh, if you're ever in Germany, we'd love to have you on the show." I'm like, I actually just so happened to be in Germany at the time. So I rocked up. All the emails they sent are very, very cordial, very friendly, very nice, playing nice. I get there, they're super polite to me. They walk me through the studio. The staff are all nice, all this stuff. Soon as like the record button goes on, it's like instant attack mode, and they go into saying things like, "How do you feel about spreading toxically masculine content to young men?" And I'm like,
"Fucking great."
And basically, they tried to get a gotcha moment. They tried to set me up. The interview went for like 90 minutes, and they cut it down to 30, and I still made them look bad. They couldn't, like, I still came out looking really fucking good.
That's a Trump move right there.
So I was like, oh, they didn't really have much other choice than to look like idiots. You know, so there's a whole bunch of guys who don't really they really do not understand what respect is from a woman, because they look at a guy who gets, like, for example, like a woman who will, off her own volition, like cook and clean around the house and like help you out with your business or whatever, or delete photos off her Instagram or take her OnlyFans down or whatever the fuck, who will do that of their own volition, and they'll look at that and think, oh, this guy must be manipulative. This guy must be abusive in some way. This guy must be blackmailing her or coercing her or doing something. He must be, because no woman would possibly do that just because she respects a man. No way. Like, they're not. It's not even in their reality for that to be a possibility.
Yeah. Or even the fact where you see guys trying to one up you or hurt your reputation with girls by saying, oh, he's talking to other girls. I was talking this with Justin Waller, because guys who will know your girlfriend, for whatever reason they're in the same friend groups, they'll be like, oh, Justin, or Stirling or Logan or Nathan, they're out there talking to these hoes, they're out partying, whatever, getting other chicks, and they're trying to get the girl you're talking to like you less. And it's hilarious because it completely backfires on them.
Oh yeah.
It shows the girl that this guy cares and he's actually trying to just win her over. And it's sad because a lot of these guys think that that's going to win. So many white knights, like even those guys on that show, complete white knights trying to save these hoes.
Yeah, white knight is the perfect definition for these kind of guys. Yeah.
And so what are some reasons, because I get a lot of questions from guys, what are the reasons why guys can't get it up in the bedroom?
It's interesting because we mentioned this really briefly before we went live. I thought your audience would skew more towards like the younger guys who probably wouldn't have a problem with this, but turns out no. There are a lot of even some of the younger guys having this issue. There's a couple of factors to take into consideration. One, in particular with the younger guys, one is generally habitual porn use, like excessive porn use, because that really screws with the way your brain interprets seeing a naked woman, right? If you overstimulate yourself with excessive pornography, like just one average girl who's not photoshopped, she hasn't got a giant fake titty, she ain't got lip fillers, she ain't got a big BBL, like she's a woman, she's a real woman.
Yeah,
is not going to be anywhere near as visually stimulating as this perfectly photoshopped and perfectly lit up woman with the perfect camera angles and the perfect makeup and like a whole bunch of other shit. That's not going to be anywhere near as visually stimulating for the guy, and so he conditions his body to respond a certain way, and he conditions his body to he's setting his body up for failure more than anything else. So that's one aspect to why guys can really struggle with erectile dysfunction if they have an excessive porn problem. The second part of erectile dysfunction is a physical side of things, right? And erectile dysfunction is this interesting one where it's actually an early warning sign to a whole bunch of like health conditions. So, for example, things like blood pressure problems, erectile dysfunction. Blood pressure problems, obesity, diabetes. Like some prescription medications can cause this. Like there's a whole host of things. Like if you have ED or like any kind of erection problems, or even like not a 10 out of 10 erection, like it's like a semi. You can't quite get it to like full mast, right? For some reason, a half chub, right? These are all like early warning signs that there's some underlying health problem, right? And these tend to be. There's three things that tend to cause this. One, it's a lack of like nitric oxide production, so you're lacking certain amino acids, and you're lacking nitrates in your diet, which are required to cause nitric oxide in the first place. So nitric oxide is the thing that makes people think about like getting a pump at the gym, right? That's caused by nitric oxide. Also called what causes the pump downstairs. It's literally what causes your blood vessels to relax and dilate and expand and fill blood. That's what nitric oxide does. So if your body ain't producing that as well as it can, you can't possibly get like a 10 out of 10 boner. The second thing is your arterial health. So you'll hear about arterial plaques. People think about arterial plaques in terms of like getting a stroke or having heart attacks and being an older guy. the thing is, these plaques, these calcium deposits, they build up in your body over time. They don't just suddenly appear one day when you're like 50. They build up throughout your whole life through sedentary lifestyle, through bad diet, through a host of things like this, right? So think of it like a pipe. If the pipe is clogged, you're not going to get as much blood in there. It's going to have constrictions. It's not going to fill as effectively as you want it to. So there's that part. The third part is a thing called the venous system, and you can have what's known as venous leakage. So venous leakage, a good example of this is actually a thing called varicose veins. If you've ever seen someone with like kind of like spider veins on
their calves or something.
Yeah. It tends to happen on the legs a lot. What that is actually is, so in your venous system, you have kind of like these locks which try to force the blood to flow in one direction. And what happens is sometimes these locks can be like unhealthy and compromised. And so they don't really push the blood in one direction. They allow it to kind of go freely in two directions. And so what ends up happening is it just pulls because it's going in and out as much as it's going in as much as it's going out. So it's just sitting there and pulling on the surface, right? This can happen in your dick. So when you have a weak venous system, when you have venous leakage, you don't lock the blood in the dick as strong as you possibly can. And one of the symptoms of one of the early warning signs of this being a specific problem is actually if you can't maintain an erection in certain sex positions. If certain ones like you're 10 out of 10 and other ones you're like half chub, like you said, then that's a clear-cut sign of venous leakage. Yeah. Clear-cut sign. So there's a bunch of different ways we can fix this, but supplementation with a few really key things tends to really now knock this on its head. With like the blood flow issue, the nitric oxide issue, you got things like L-arginine, L-citrulline. They're fantastic for producing nitric oxide. You got things like pomegranate juice and beetroot extract. These things are fantastic for producing nitrates, and the antioxidant load is great for healing the arterial plaques in your body, getting rid of them, scavenging them. Same with things like horny goatweed, which is active ingredient, and that is a thing called icarin. Same with vitamin K2, the MK7 variant. This can really help to clean out arteries, really clean those pipes out a lot. And then the magic ingredient that tends to do really well with helping this venous system heal is a thing called horse chestnut extract. It's been used to treat varicose veins for a long, long time. So a combination of all these things supplemented together is actually what I used to take before I went on set in the porn industry. I basically dove into like, okay, what can I take that is not like a little blue pill that I'm going to have to have a dependence on to shoot a scene all the time, because it's a pharmaceutical drug like Viagra or Cialis is a drug, and it causes like your body to have a non-natural response, and your body develops a drug resistance to that.
Have you ever tried like a pre-workout before?
I tried it, but I personally don't respond well to caffeine. Mm-hmm. With like my boners actually get a bit like, because I get more irritable on caffeine. Mm-hmm. It would fuck with my boners. Yeah. So I couldn't use pre-workouts because
there's like a more natural pre-workout. A lot of people use honey. Have you ever used honey?
I've heard of people using a thing called like a specific thing in the Middle East, because like they call it like jelly or something like that, where it's a mixture of honey with Cialis in it. Oh, people will use that all the time in the Middle East, and they talk. I've heard people talk about like honey as being like a boner thing. Yeah, but not just like regular store bought honey.
It's like, because like what's it called? When I was in Australia and I couldn't get pre-workout for the longest time, I would just go to like a grocery store and get honey.
Fuck yeah!
I'd just get 3 teaspoons of fucking honey.
Nice.
Just go to the gym.
Well, honey has a shitload of stuff in it. Really, like honey, like actual good, healthy sourced honey has got a lot of really, really good things in it. So it doesn't surprise me that would be amazing pre-workout.
Yeah,
packed full of fructose as well. You're gonna have shitloads of energy. Yeah, that's gonna do wonders.
Yeah. Also, I've known myself, so I used rock salts or like sea salt.
Yep.
And I put it in everything I drink or whatever, and I just get massive pumps. Like my veins are fucking filled up with water.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've heard of people using that in the morning, particularly like Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan sea salt. Yeah. Taking that and like at a certain concentration first thing in the morning is supposed to be very, very good for a whole host of different stuff, because we don't tend to actually, salt has been like bastardized for some reason.
Yeah, because like if you drink a fuck ton of water, like yeah, you're getting hydrated, but not as efficiently as you can be.
Correct.
So you put some salt in there.
Yeah, bingo, exactly. Yeah, that's the correct way to be hydrated. Yeah.
And so what are some supplements guys can take instead of having the Cialis or Viagra?
Well, I just designed. I spent 12 months building one that could take.
Oh shit!
There you go.
My new supplement line is called Clubhouse Supplements, and we've got one pill which is specifically designed off what I used to supplement with before I went to set every day. And it's called Wood, so it's not very subtle in its naming. You kind of get the idea of what it's supposed to do. But basically, yeah, it's got all these things I just mentioned. That it hits all these key mechanisms that I just went over. And it's designed to fix things from like a fundamental base level. So your blood flow is optimal, your arteries are healthy, your venous system's healthy. And what you'll find, right? So like, let's compare taking something like this, a more natural supplement, long term, versus taking something like a Viagra long term. The more you take Viagra, the less effective it's going to be. It'll work fine day one, but the more you take it over, like maybe that's 6 months, maybe that's 12 months, depends how often you take it, it's going to be less and less and less effective. With something that works on the root cause of the problem, cleaning out your arteries, getting your nitric oxide production on point, healing your venous system, it's gonna also help you from day one, but it's gonna get more effective the more you take it over time, because all these things are having a compounding effect and healing your body and making sure it actually works properly. So that's kind of how I designed it. I wanted it to be like, yeah, you could take this for a pump tonight in the bedroom with your lady, but I also wanted it to work on a long-term basis to actually help guys get rid of this problem entirely, so their blood flow is like on point, like consistently. Yeah.
What do you think about using that product for the gym specifically?
You could absolutely use it for the gym, 100%.
Would it kind of like replace like a pre-workout or like a blood pump?
Yeah, I think it depends how much pre-workout you take.
Mm-hmm.
I think guys can. I know when I take pre-workout, I fucking slam a ton of it. I go ham.
Yeah,
on the pre-workout.
I have this pre-workout called Bucked Up,
Okay.
and fucking it has like 6,400 milligrams of fucking beta alanine.
Yep.
That shit that makes you feel like fucking itchy.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
In a pre-workout.
I'll take like a scoop and a half, and I just get itchy the whole time.
I love it.
Yeah.
So apparently beta alanine. The whole purpose of it is designed to help blood flow to like extremities where it doesn't normally get to.
Mm-hmm. That's why you can feel it in all your like middle nerves. That's why
exactly. That's where you get that itch. And back in the day, I think bodybuilders used to take it just on its own as a way of like cutting towards like at the end of their cutting phase. Because if there's some really stubborn parts of like some stubborn fat that isn't really moving, it's because there's a lack of blood flow getting there. So they take beta alanine to try and get blood to flow to these parts of the body where the fat just wasn't moving or wasn't coming off. Yeah. Apparently, that's what the original purpose of it was for.
Yeah, that's pretty gamer.
Yeah.
And you also have a background in chemistry as well.
Yeah, that's how I can geek out on all this stuff.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And so was that before porn or after porn?
That was well long before porn. Yeah, chemistry, double degree in chemistry. Worked as a pharmaceutical research chemist. Worked as an oil and gas quality control chemist. I have an honors degree. Sorry, I should have said that. I was also a published scientific author before I graduated. So I actually have some work out there.
It's fucking Heisenberg over here.
Yeah. Heisenberg of laying pipe. Yeah. So I basically use that back. That's why I'm able to dive into like the scientific literature and say, okay, like, is this conclusive? Does this actually have some scientific? This ingredient, this exotic sounding African herb, is it placebo? Is it all hype? Is it all hearsay? Or has it been studied? Have they done a double controlled blind study to it? Has it actually had some efficacy behind it? And that's when those are the things that I choose to use and supplement with. Is like, okay, not only have I had maybe some anecdotal experience with it, or my friends have had anecdotal experience with it, but it's kind of been tested as well. So I know there's at least some mechanism behind it for producing the result I want.
Now that you're talking about like weird names, have you ever heard of ashwagandha or like Tonga Ali?
Ashwagandha, yes. Tonga Ali, yes. Both of them. Yep. So Tonga Ali is very good. I believe it's for follicle stimulating hormone. Mm-hmm. It's either that or it's either good for follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, or just straight up free testosterone. It's one of those three is what Tonga Ali is specifically good for.
And is ashwagandha kind of like a placebo?
Ashwagandha, no. Ashwagandha actually does have a bunch of studies that support it for a couple of different reasons. It's actually, now you mentioned it's actually in another supplement I've put out. It's one of the ingredients for one of my libido boosting supplement. And it's been shown to, well, one, it's been shown to help improve testosterone levels and just overall energy levels as well. But the reason I chose to use ashwagandha in my libido boosting supplement is because it can help with regulating your prolactin levels. So most guys don't understand that. But when you talk about like sex drive, right, in guys, most guys immediately think it's all about testosterone. Now, testosterone does play a big role in it. It does play a big role, but it is a bit more nuanced than that. So they've done studies on naturally multi-orgasmic guys. So a dude who is able to like bust a nut and like instantly get hard again and bust another nut. Like there's no downtime at all. Like ridiculous. So that's a multi-orgasmic man, right? And so no refractory period, like the time between orgasms. That doesn't exist for guys like that. What they find is these guys do not produce a dump of a hormone called prolactin in their brain when they orgasm. The average guy, when he orgasms, he gets a release of prolactin from his brain that goes through his bloodstream, and that's what causes a man to get that kind of lethargic, cuddly feeling after he has sex, and it lowers his sex drive, it lowers his arousal levels. It actually had kind of a feminizing effect on men as well. Okay? If you have too much of it, it can lead to like man boobs and shit. Right? So that's what prolactin does. Prolactin, oddly enough, also causes women to lactate. So it has a role in both sexes. But with the dudes, it's what causes you to like after you jizz to like lose that sex drive and lose that arousal. Now, there's an inverse relationship between prolactin in your brain and dopamine. So when prolactin is high, dopamine is low, and when dopamine is high, prolactin is low. So what I did, and I used to supplement with this before scenes as well. I have a stack of stuff that I used to take, which was designed to do exactly that, like lower my prolactin levels and naturally raise my dopamine levels. And I'm not taking like something like an ecstasy pill, which is just driving off the charts, right? Where you get a massive like come down. We're doing it in a very, very accurate way. And so, yeah, because multi-orgasmic guys, they don't release prolactin. The prolactin theory of like sex drive is basically like, okay, if we can maintain this and keep this like at a lower healthy level, then your sex drive is going to be higher, and your your refractory period, your ability to go like round 2 again is going to be much, much, much shorter. Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. When you start supplementing with this shit, you can see some really crazy shit. In fact, I can literally show you. Hopefully, you can pick this up on the camera. So I did this with like a chick recently. I will definitely have to blur her face out, but I'll play it. I'll play it for you here. You'll be able to. So basically, the scenario happened, right? So I supplement with this stuff pretty frequently, right? And that's why I made this supplement. It's called Fire, by the way. It's my libido booster. You should check it out. I'm sure I'll give Logan a link and he can drop it down below.
Yeah.
But basically, I had this threesome with these 2 Scottish girls, and I busted a nut. And then I basically instantly got hard again and busted a second nut, like 5 minutes later.
One for each of them.
Yeah, it was actually kind of how I did. I kind of did it exactly like that. Spray number 1, spray number 2. But I'll play you this. Hopefully you can pick this up on the audio. But I'll play you this little video. What do you want me to make a video on?
I want this man to teach all of you how to come and then come again immediately after with the same amount of fucking volume, because it's impossible. It was more volume.
Explain the context. Explain the goddamn context.
So we had fucked. We'd had a little I think it was a threesome.
It was you, me, and Danny.
It was me, you, and Danny. So we'd fucked. We'd had a threesome. He came. He fucking showered me in cum. The whole fucking the carry looking kind of shit. And then immediately after, no refractory period, no cooling down period.
Like how quickly?
Like fucking seconds. Seconds. Immediately hard on again, fucking me again, and then within about 5-10 minutes, sprayed again. How the fuck do you do that? How do you do that?
That's too good, bro.
That's funny.
So if you want to biohack your body and become like a multi-orgasmic jizzing master, then you can check that out.
Hell yes. I mean, this is why it's important to like keep learning new skills, because you know chemistry, porn, and then you had learning content creating. It's like all these skills kind of just added up, and now you add it onto one product or service. And I think this is something like that a lot of guys need to learn how to do. Could you speak a little bit more on like the importance of that? On like the ability to like build a business that way? Yeah, or just learning new skills and mastering skills. Yeah, I mean it's I personally just have a curiosity for certain things.
So I think if you're a very genuinely curious guy, if you're curious about how to get more jacked, if you're curious about like nutrition, you're gonna start to experiment and play around with that stuff. I think you should look at your body as like an experiment of one, and see what are the triggers and the levers you can move, so you can develop, because you'll develop a degree of like expertise and competency from actually practically trying it out and practically experimenting with it, rather than just being like the guy who knows all the theory. You have to go and put everything like that into practice, right? So there's that aspect to it. Same with the content creation. Like you're only going to get good at content creation by just trying a bunch of different shit, throwing it against the wall, seeing what sticks. Like I've certainly, in the 3 years I've been doing this, I've certainly failed a bunch of times. Videos that I thought would do super well, I put all this time and effort and research into, tanked, did like no views. I'm like, well, this is depressing. And then I'll make some random video about how to jizz more, and it'll blow up. I'm like, okay, it's hard. It's sometimes hard to know exactly what's going to like really, really hit. But the only way you're going to learn about you develop a bit of almost like a sixth sense for stuff eventually, as you learn the rhythm. You learn more about, with content creation, you learn more about people, what they respond to. How to hook people in with your content, how to create more engaging content, how to edit that content better, how to light better and film better. All these things play a big role in like the content creator space, definitely. So yeah, it's about like learning. Mastery is about time and repetition. You just need time and attention. You got to actually put the hours in to truly understand and learn something. And I think also, in addition to that, you guys have a lot of experience with this. The more you teach stuff to other people, the more you ingrain it and learn it.
Yeah.
So if you can find someone who's like, let's say you don't have to be like a 10 out of 10 like expert on something. You might be a newbie, like an intermediate on something. But if you can find someone who's like a complete newbie and you can teach them a couple of things, that'll help move you up another rung and really internalize some basic concepts.
Yep. This is why any of the guys I have in my coaching programs or in manipulation mastery, I make sure that they're coaching guys below them, and I have them coaching the younger guys or the guys who are less experienced. It actually helps them just as much. Hosting a seminar, hosting something, even the guys inside of the Brotherhood, I have them hosting meetups and on certain topics if they're more skilled on it or they have some sort of knowledge on it, because they'll even learn more just teaching it and helping other people.
Absolutely. That's a really clever idea. Where you're doing that with like the tiering it like that. That's very clever.
It's very interesting how you're able to provide more jobs and everything to more guys. It's pretty powerful. I mean, because you've been able to provide a lot of jobs and things and a lot of money for guys to make through working for you.
Yeah, it's funny. I did the math the other day. I'm like, well, if you count my employees plus like my affiliates, I probably gainfully employed about like 40, 50 people now, which is kind of crazy. Like that's a bit ridiculous. Like I've done that in about 3 years. Like there's at least 50 dudes who make not all of them are making like a completely full-time wage, but they make like, well, actually depends where they're living actually. So I'll take that back. But there's a whole bunch of dudes who are making like at least minimum wage off of me, thanks to this kind of stuff, thanks to the content we put out.
One mistake or some of the big mistakes you see guys making before they even get to the bedroom, because a lot of your stuff talks about issues in the bedroom, but what about when guys who can't even get in the bedroom in the first place?
Got finger this
bitch. What's his fingering skills like? How nimble, how dexterous is he? Yeah, so mistakes that these guys will make before they even get into the bedroom. I think a big one is like being afraid to like offend women.
A good one.
These days, I deliberately try to find something that I can like not argue with her about, but disagree with her about. Like, so I can stand my ground and show I have a pair of balls, and be like, you madam have the wrong opinion about this. Let me explain. Let me tell you why. Like,
let me mansplain that thing.
Yeah, I mean, but I mansplain in an attractive way. I'm not mansplaining in like a dork, you know. But I'm mansplaining, like we kind of touched on this before, but I'm mansplaining from a point of view that she actually respects, because she finds me attractive, because I'm sitting there having balls and disagreeing with her, right? So it kind of makes sense. Versus if I was a guy who's just trying to mansplain, like, well, actually, like from the fuck on the internet as an anonymous dude, she ain't respecting it, doesn't do shit. But if she's on a date with me for a start, she's at least somewhat curious. She's at least somewhat attracted to me. right? And then by me having some balls and being like, you know what, no, you're completely wrong about this, my dear. And I might not even explain why. I might just state it and move on. Like, just leave that out in the air. Like, you're wrong. Anyway, move on. But that is way more powerful than dudes think it is. Dudes are afraid of like to offend a woman.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is that if you show you have the balls you're not afraid of offending a woman, it actually makes her trust you more. You're safer around you because she knows you're honest.
Yes.
She knows you tell the truth.
Yeah.
It actually makes you. Dudes think it makes you an asshole. Technically, it makes you less of an asshole because you're more honest with her.
Yep. And this is why girls do not trust nice guys, because they come off inauthentic and they say whatever or do whatever to please people instead of what they actually feel deep down is what they want to do. And this is what I actually talk about inside of the new book that I just wrote, The 4 Ways Men Ruin Attraction with Women, because so many guys deal with these problems of being too nice, doing too much, putting her on a pedestal, right? And so these are all the things I cover because we've kind of moved past the point where I don't even want to talk about how to get laid with girls anymore for guys. And so I want to move past that, but I still know there's a lot of guys who still struggle with that. So that's why I put out this new ebook for guys to go check out, and they can read for completely free as well.
Very nice. That's cool. Yeah.
And then you have your ebook as well on your website, sterlingcooper.com, that people could download for completely free. And that talks about all the mistakes they're making in the bedroom.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's the 5 subtle mistakes guys make in the bed. And that's, I've had guys read that and email me and be like, I would pay money for this book. Like,
now it's my turn. 4 mistakes you're making after the bedroom.
Nice. I didn't call her back. She keyed my car. I slept with her friend. What's the 4th one? Come on. I know what the 4th one is.
So one question you see, I don't know if you see this a lot as well. I get this question a good amount from guys who are trying to focus more on money and business. They're like, should I leave my girlfriend or avoid talking to girls so I can focus on my business?
I got asked that. I actually got asked that recently on another podcast with like 3 kind of younger entrepreneurs. They asked me that exact question. I won't. Yeah, I can't go into specifics because I'll dock something that he told me in private. But anyway, but the same question, right? I think if you're a young guy, like, and you found a good girl who is willing to build with you, I don't think you should let her go. I think because here's why. Right? There's women kind of have 2 choices. I'm going to explain this from the female perspective first. One, they can like hitch their wagon to they can back a horse, right? They can look at a guy their age and be like, he's a good bet. Like, he's got good potential. I'm going to back this guy. I'm going to go with him, and I'm going to like be there with him as he builds, right? That's choice number 1. Choice number 2 that women have is, as a young attractive woman, is they find a guy like me who's already established, and they're like, I'll go with this guy because he's already got all this shit handled. But it means like
he's won before and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but obviously the trade off there is like, okay, having it being when I have kids with the guy, he's a younger father versus me being an older father. Like, so maybe he's not this would happen to me because I stay active, but maybe he's going to be less active with the kids because he's too busy, right? And he's not going to be able to spend as much time playing sports, blah, 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 whatever, versus the younger guy, right? That's kind of the playoff that women have to make. And so I think personally, as a young, if I knew the kind of, like, you guys are like miles ahead of where I was when I was your age, for example, right? If I was where you guys are at entrepreneurially, socially, successfully, right? If I found a girl who's like on board with the game plan, and you can talk, like, depending upon what your stance on monogamy, that will include a conversation in there about that, obviously. But if she's on board, like, I don't see a reason to like let go of her, build with her, get her pregnant, have kids, have a family early on, and you can just grow with that, right? Versus the challenge that has come with me is like, it took me a lot longer to get to this point, and now I'm super busy. I have to sacrifice a lot of time to try and proactively vet women to try and find one that meets my criteria, right? Versus if I found one younger when I was like already in a building stage and she kind of met all these good criteria. That's another part I did add, is actually understanding what good criteria are watching content from guys like you, guys like me, learning like, okay, what are green flags and red flags to look out for in the first place for a woman you might want to consider to be the mother of your kids. That's super important. But knowing those early on will set you up for I think you'll set you up for a lot more success as a guy, like later on in life, personally. But that's just my 2 cents.
No, 100%. I mean, obviously, and Nathan knows, my relationships behind the scenes. Like I've been talking to one chick for a pretty long time, and she's been a ride or die even through getting canceled, all this other stuff, and she helps me bring over other girls, which is nice. So that's the power of having an asset versus having a girlfriend who's a liability. So I think those guys who asked you the question, they're kind of leaning towards my girlfriend's a liability and a hindrance to my power, my success, and my future. That's only because they let her. I feel like
true.
That's only what you give up.
Yeah, it's that, and I think with this specific circumstance that where another guy asked me this question, he'd kind of lost the attraction for his girlfriend a bit because she was supportive and nice and stuff, but she didn't quite do it for him like sexually that way, which is a tough balance to make. Like, it's pretty fucking hard for you to find, like, I mean, I know I'm super picky with girls in terms of like what I want from them, like personality wise, beliefs wise, like political leanings, family orientation, like all this shit. I have a stupidly ridiculous list of criteria. So like finding that, and she's like a 10 out of 10, like, or whatever, like it's fucking hard to like try and really hit all the fucking things in a row. So
yep, and the girls who love you the most are the ones you're not that into, and it's always going to be that way. So it's a paradox. It's a total paradox, I think.
It's a bit of a paradox.
It is 100% a paradox. It is what it is. I think Stephen Arno talks about. I don't know if you know who Stephen Arno is. He wrote the book Hard Times Create Strong Men. He talked about choose a woman who chooses you, because a lot of guys are either chasing the virgin whore, and that's it. A lot of guys want the paradox of the virgin whore, right? A girl who's, good in these areas, but then good in being a good girl, but you can't have both, right? Yeah. And so that's something that's very interesting with guys. It's that paradox.
And the guys who put, a lot of guys, especially in a city like LA or a city like Miami, they will accept really shitty behavior from a woman just because she's beautiful, because they want the respect that they get from other men that is associated with having a beautiful girl on your arm. That's a big flex. Like same with having a fast car, same with having a yacht, having a nice watch or whatever. Like having a beautiful woman on your arm is seen as something that's hard to attain by other men, and thus garners a level of respect from other men.
Yeah.
But guys will take that chick just based on that one criteria that she's hot, and they'll forget all the other crap, and they'll end up getting disrespected.
Cheated on.
Well, first they get disrespected behind closed doors, and then they start getting disrespected out in public. And that's when you know that motherfucker's getting cheated on. You know it's happening.
And so there's different levels. So it's like, cool, he's got a girl at least. Better than most guys. Most guys can't even get a girl. Cool. But then another level is, all right, now how can you get a girl to be hot, but also be incredibly loyal to you and super respectful, right? So there's different levels of the game. Is like the guys who don't have girls will look up to him, but the guys who have really hot girls who are super loyal no matter what will look down at that guy like, what the fuck is this guy doing, right? And we see it all the time how these guys will completely ruin their reputation. Like Logan Paul, for example, fucking completely ruining his reputation just because of some chick.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think Logan Paul had a particularly good stance on women to begin with. Like his opinion.
Yeah.
He's too feminist leaning, I think, for guys to be paying attention to what he has to say anyway.
And then what is the importance of networking, investing in yourself? And I remember you mentioning with Brandon Carter, you were with Brandon Carter, you mentioned paying for access to events, because you guys went to like the same events. I don't know what you guys went to, but can you talk about the importance of paying for those things?
Yeah, so that's a really good example. Especially if you want to succeed in business, like having networks is so incredibly useful. Like so for example, like all the people I employ, all the people I do business with these days, like be it a third party service, a freelance service, or something like this, it's super rare for me to have found someone like organically that isn't in some way, shape, or form like a referral within my network. It's very rare these days for that to be the case. Like most people I work with have either worked for someone else I know, or they're in my network, or something like this. I trust all these people. Everyone comes pre-vetted, and it's a fast track to like quality talent. So like I know that if so and so used this guy as a copywriter, as a hypothetical example, and I know how much money he's making. Okay, this guy can write good copy, so I'm going to use him. I know if this guy built a website for my friend over here, and I can see it looks badass, and he trusted him to do it, and he's doing more money, he's making just as much money as I am, if not more. Cool, I'll get this guy to redo my website, and so on and so forth. That's so when it comes to, there's been multiple instances where I've paid to go to certain networking events, masterminds, like you said, where I know I'm doing it less for like the content of the material that's being discussed. It's more just to meet the guys that are in the room there, because money is, in as much as money is important. It's a bit of a silly idea to claim that money isn't important. At a certain level, it gives you, it's like a barrier to entry, right? It's a prerequisite. It's a filter for letting certain people into events, right? So the people who are going to this event are at least hard workers. They at least, at a bare minimum, they at least know how to make money, right? So there's going to be some value exchange going on, even if they're not necessarily in your industry directly. There might be some way or some overlap there in terms of the people they know who you can work with and who they can help you, find to solve all your other problems. So it's interesting because it's kind of one of the only. I'm trying to think like in terms of, okay, let's say money, fitness, relationships, right? In terms of networking, using any of those three assets to network, right? How would you use like fitness to network? You'd probably have to be some kind of high level athlete, or a competitive bodybuilder, or a competitive athlete, or something like a CrossFit athlete, an NBA player, or something like this. Like fitness or health at a certain level, yeah, that can get you access to an incredible network, right? Dating wise, like relationship wise, yeah, if you're a guy like look at my guy like Michael Sartain, if you're incredibly good at attracting women and social proof, you get access to literally celebrities and things like that. But that's a super high level of skill, right? Both those two examples. Money, it's actually easier to get access to high level people purely via money, I think, than those other two ways of networking.
So what do you think about the guys who are afraid, or they're unsure about paying for access to things, and they feel like, well, why should I just pay to go meet people? One, I feel like, because I get that thrown at me a lot. It's like, well, why should I pay for a group or a network? It's like, bro, you're paying. You don't have to go through the pain and suffering that I went through of getting canceled and all this other bullshit of finding these guys in the first place. You instantly get it, right? So you don't have to sacrifice really anything. You don't have to sacrifice the time or the work. You instantly get it. Like you said, the money, paying for the access, you don't have to be a high-level athlete or celebrity. All you're doing is paying and you're getting in. And I mean, that's why I see so many guys I know who are in crypto, who have a lot of money. They pay for just front row seats to NBA games just to network and be next to these guys, because they understand it's a very powerful tool, right? Because they don't have anything else. They just have the money. And so that's why it's like, if you have the ability to go to an event, even if it's your last dollar, I think it's completely worth it. Like, any times where I've spent money on to network or to go meet someone or go talk to someone, it's always paid way more than 10x that,
I mean, and that's what life is about. Relationships. Life's about people. Like, what else are you gonna? I mean, like, okay, you could spend your money on like, what are you really gonna spend your money? You can spend your money on a nice car, on clothes, on like all this sort of shit. But the things that most people spend their money on that they truly enjoy and that creates like memories is experiences, and that's experiences with people. Like that's why we're on this earth, is to have a relationship with other people and build communities and build tribes and stuff. So I don't think there's a better way to spend money than to be in a room with other like-minded people who you never knew before. You didn't know your social circle in your tiny little town or your little area where you're in doesn't have any of these people. You're the one you're the standout. You're the one who's hustling, and now you get to be instantly put into another social circle of guys who are on the same path as you, or at least in some way on that path,
and will treat you as an equal.
Yeah. You also can't be weird. You can't be a weirdo.
Yeah.
That's an important thing. That's why learning at least baseline social skills to not be a complete like socially awkward guy, because then you will be kind of wasting your money, because you'll go to that event and no one will want to talk to you because you're creeping them out. Fair warning.
It's true. That's true. And so how long did it take for you to get your business, or like at what point did you realize, okay, this is legit, or you found that point?
Well, I've had a couple of businesses, so I'll go back to the last one I had, which was a meal delivery business. It really kind of kicked off after about 3 months. We started to see some real traction. I was like, okay, this is like, it was a case of me testing it out, like running on a real shoestring budget. And then at about 3 months in, there was some like serious momentum that kicked in, where it was like, okay, cool. Now I know that I can like get rid of my old job and I can jump into this thing because it needs my time and attention. And it will pay that. And very, very similar with this one, with the business I run now. It took about 3 months for me to start seeing like some serious traction, and me seeing like, okay, this is about to replace my previous income. Like, it's about to do it. I would say those two are quite fast examples that compared to the average, though. I think guys should, if you're going to build a business, you should at minimum stick with that for 6 to 12 months. Like, it depends on what the industry is. It's a bit vague of a question, a bit vague to answer it, but you need to actually, take some licks. You need to go through some struggles and some hardships and overcome some burdens and some barriers to even know in the first place if this is a viable business. You can't expect it to work instantly from day one. You have to actually find out what you don't know about this business, this industry. You have to find out your weaknesses. You have to find out where your strengths play into this, and that can take you some time. I did it quickly because I've got experience.
Right. And then also, I remember you talking about with Justin as well, like consuming versus creating content, and how that shifted for you.
Yeah. That was a big. I picked it up early on in my 20s when I used to consume content like this, enough in the earlier days of YouTube and stuff. And there was a really good piece of advice someone gave me. It was like, for every 1 hour of content you consume, you need to produce at least 6. That's the ratio, right? You need to be, or not, maybe it's not necessarily content you're producing, but it's some kind of work out
building, creating something.
Yeah, something that's you're contributing towards your goals, right? So if I'm learning about bodybuilding theory or nutritional theory, okay, well then I need to be spending at least 6 hours working out or
putting it into action. Yeah,
putting it into action. Exactly, correctly said. So that is a good ratio, rather than just because the dudes will just sit there and spend all day consuming, and that just makes you another cog in the wheel. You're not actually proactively out there producing anything. So.
Yeah, it's definitely important. I think guys consuming they're just receiving. They're just receiving information. They're just receiving everything, and they're allowing the world to basically penetrate them instead of the other way around. You should be penetrating the world with your gifts, your strengths, and your knowledge, right, and your skills. And I think creating content,
very well said.
And creating content or creating a product or service or creating something, building something is the key to stopping that. I think Elliot Holst talked about that as well. Because you notice most women are actually consumers, right? And most of the men who create most things that are created are from men. So constantly consuming too much and receiving, like I said, or being penetrated with stuff. That's how he formed it, and I thought that was really interesting.
I like Elliot Holst. I like the way he formulates stuff like that. He's very clever.
Bought land, and then the supplements. Okay, cool. And there's 2 supplements now.
Yes. So this when this goes live, the fire supplement will be cranking out. We'll be basically in the middle of the launch week when we push this out. So you get your hands on that at a discount. It'll be basically running from the 22nd of November through just past Cyber Monday. So you can get your hands on some quite significant discounts, and if you buy on Black Friday as well, I'm throwing in a nice little special bonus as well. I love it. Sounds very exciting, guys.
Yeah,
you guys, like I said, you guys are miles ahead of where I was at your age, where Justin was at your age. You guys are fucking crushing it. You guys are doing great. So keep it up.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm super stoked. So what's your plans for the rest of the day?
I have a nice blonde lady downstairs who's waiting for me to finish this podcast. Get out of my room.
My shit.